Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels, uh, where my buddy Stephan Frank has returned because last time we talked around Palomino because it hadn't been kickstarted yet, but now it is officially on Kickstarter. You should go and throw money at him because it's worth every penny. I just took my money and threw it into the ether, and
Mhm.
it went your way. Um, I think I was actually backer number two.
Oh, you
This
were?
is
That's amazing.
this is the highest I've ever been on somebody's backer
Wow.
list.
Wow, wow. Like usually like it's either like getting like the first couple or the person who tilts it over to the goal or to like the first 100 back or what. There's always like a bragging right that's pretty awesome there.
Right, right. Now and I've doubled the amount that I'm getting since you went and like took my advice and added PDFs of volumes 1 through 3.
Right. Right.
It's like, ah, click,
No,
click.
that was a good idea. We even also even this morning also based on the biker's request added a tier just for romance in the Age of the Space God because that's the one they
Okay,
wanted and there was not a single tier for that,
right.
just the physical copy of that. So we added that.
Whereas I already had that, and it's like, but now I want if digital is available, I
Yeah,
want both.
exactly. Mhm.
Because then I can carry it around easier and go, look, this is awesome. You should read it. Order from this website.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And if you don't think I do that, you're insane because I
Oh, I
like,
know you do that. I'm fully aware.
I mean, I have marks at like every place that I go. Like, yeah, I work at a school. I
Yeah.
know the other teachers that it's like, I'll show them stuff. And before, like, they'll be like, yeah, just put my order in.
No, I mean, honestly, jokes aside, that's amazing. That's what we need people to do because, this is independent, so it's not
Right.
like when you do like a Marvel rollout and, there are like 4 million views in like the first 20 minutes or something. We don't have that platform in this case. So it's
Right.
really completely, it's in the hands of the people who already discovered it and telling their friends and people use
Well, I'll
it.
thank Howard Chaykin again. Howard's the one that told me you got to read this book, Palomino. And I've said it once, I'll say it before. When Howard Chaykin tells you to read something that you haven't even heard of before, that means you need to
Yes,
read it.
agreed.
Particularly because he just gotten done grousing about how there were no good new comics.
I
And I'm
mean,
like, but now you're going to give me a recommendation for a new comic that I haven't heard of. Which is it, Howard?
I know he's very discerning. Let's me put it this way.
Okay. No good new comics except for this one. But he was right. It's great. I and immediately went back to like all of your previous stuff because you do great work. Give us the rundown of where it left off, where it's picking up. Give us the front counter pitch, and then we'll dive
Right.
into fun stuff.
Okay, so for Palomino, I will just start because people may be
Yeah,
listening who don't know anything about the series. So the series
yeah.
starts in 1981 and in LA. It's a neo-noir crime mystery that takes place it's a deep valley kind of story, right? And we follow this guy, Eddie, who's a musician by night, private detective by day, kind of old school, hard ass, hard boiled kind of guy. And his teenage daughter, who's even more of a hard ass than he is. And the two of them together are really hilarious. And all the crimes, in the story are all sort of loosely inspired by real life crimes and mysteries from, LA lore that may or may not have been solved. Um, so it's a super, super fun murder mystery. There's a whole web of, if it's Chinatown meets Every Which Way But Loose by way of Ferris Bueller because she's a teenager.
Okay.
So it's so but
And she
so
does ditch some school.
she does. So yeah, so you have this really, really fun neo-noir sort of web of mystery that we all love, this kind of stuff. But there's also this deep sort of examination of the parent to child relationship, and in the first three books, so we're in 1981, and it's, he has the lead, you know what I mean? Because she's a teenager, and as much of an old soul and a kick-ass sort of natural born detective that she may be, um, and somebody looking for answers and for justice and all that stuff, she's still a kid. So there's still a tension between those emotions that she may have and the agency that you only have so much when you're a kid, right? So he has the lead. This is
Well,
a true
unless you're
story.
Nancy Drew or Veronica Mars.
Well, there you
You
go.
didn't quite
So
cross the line there to
no,
oh, we're gonna throw out or Robin. Robin also.
exactly,
It's
exactly. But we're in a more sort of grounded universe, you know.
right.
So um,
Where the parents would get in trouble for child endangerment.
right, exactly. Well, which is borderline, because like, but I'm glad you said that because it's what's really interesting with that side of the parenting story, which is seen from his point of view, which is that when you have kids, it's all you're caught, especially as they start growing up, you're caught in that tension between giving them freedom and just wanting to protect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they say, in other words, how much do you like butt in versus how much do you, leave them space to make mistakes? But hopefully those aren't the kind of mistakes that you don't come back from. So that's hard for any parent. I think that's the big question that's at the heart of parenting at any age.
Oh yeah.
But also so that's hard for any parent, but also he's like this noir detective in the middle of a case that is too close to home to begin with, and so as any character in that position, he himself gets borderline out of control. You know what I mean? And or it gets dangerously close to the edge. So he himself is almost getting out of control, and meanwhile he's like, is my kid getting out of control? And how much do I need to butt in or leave her space and stuff like that? So that's the first side of the story that kind of took place in the first three volumes, and then in volume four we have a 14-year-old 14-year jump forward in
Right.
time to 1995. And now she's 29. She's an adult. She has all the agency that she needs, but also she has all the baggage that she's accrued in her early adulthood. And she's the main character, and we're seeing, and so she picks up the case that her dad didn't fully solve in 1981, and that has become somewhat of a cold case, plus older and cold cases that I don't want to spoil if people haven't read. But and so she's drawn back into the fray of trying to solve that web of crime, and it runs really deep into their world. And it turns into this gauntlet that she's gonna have to run eventually. That will be just super, super epic. And the fun thing, and just on the to tell that child parent sort of story, now we're telling the other side, which is if you've lost parents in life before you were old enough to know them as actual people, you know them as dad or mom or whatever, but you didn't know
Right.
them as a person, then to a point they will always be a mystery, and the part of them that is you will always be a mystery to yourself. So this is also a process of reclaiming who she is and what she's about, and under that she does through that part of the story. So
Well,
it's
and
yeah,
just dealing with the trauma. You know, I mean,
yeah, yeah,
there's the neat part of trying to like close the circle and find herself and her parents and whatnot, but there's also the really messy part of like she experienced way more than anybody should before they're 15, and that has pretty deep repercussions.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's part of the baggage that she carries into
Particularly
adulthood.
as we get I love how you don't really flash back to those 14 years,
Mhm.
but you give us clues in context. We start to figure out a little bit more of what happened next at the end of Palomino Volume 3, which people who want spoilers can go back to our last talk. I think we did spoilery for the
Oh,
first
there you
three, but
go. Well, there you go.
it's not like it's not available on 22 panels, but we're trying to avoid it this time, just in case people want to buy 1 through 5 all together. So I'm gonna warn them that he leaves us on a cliffhanger again. But I'm told 6 is coming much sooner.
Yeah, because the thing is when you write a long series like this, but it's not an open-ended series. It's like a long story. It's like writing like writing a 700-page novel or something like, you know what I mean?
Right,
So what you need to know where you're going, especially if it's a web of mystery, right? So you kind of need to know what the basic roadmap is going to be. However, uh, as they say, art is discovered, not decided. So you need to allow yourself a lot of room for the story along
just
the
you got
way.
to try not to do quite the George R. R. Martin lot of room.
Right, not that much room, but just what I mean is like the story will tell you what it wants to be as you go
Right,
along in ways like a certain truth of you know the characters, who they are, what they're about, even some of the themes of the story, even the war. I mean, there's other stuff we can talk about that is related to. It's very holistic, this whole thing.
yeah,
But my point is, so when I start a story like that, I know kind of where it's going. I have the idea. I know how it kind of ends and stuff like that. I know where I want to go with it, but I don't write like you know, word for word the entire
right,
script for like the whole 6 books going in. That would be insane because A, I
right.
would totally burn out. And B, again, so many decisions would be premature that the story wouldn't have had the chance to tell you what it wants to be. Okay, so I wrote the first one, like the actual script for the first one, drew it, we released it. That was great. People liked it, kept going. And then I wrote 2 and 3 together to get to that certain point in the story, and then did those books. And but then, when you get to the like on the B side of it, which starts with volume 4, at that point, there's, as you to your point, there's like less and less room to kind of get lost or to not,
Right.
tie things up together. So what I did is I did write 4, 5, 6 entirely. And not only
Okay.
did I do that, but I also penciled 4, 5, 6 entirely. So like the
Ooh,
entire story to the end is not only written, but it's also penciled and stuff like that. So now that 4 and 5 are done, I'm just gonna go back and do the final art on 6. But all the heavy lifting of writing it, which takes forever,
okay.
and the basic penciling and and all that stuff, which also takes forever, all that stuff is done. So now we're just down to the final execution.
Well, you actually took me to perfectly to one of my questions. I feel blessed that you sent me what was even titled as the work in progress copy, and I got to see exactly how work in progress it was when we went from fully completed pages to
Oh
suddenly
yeah.
inked, inked and lettered to the last few pages that I have are still um like your
Yeah, yeah.
3D backgrounds,
Hmm.
because you talked last time we were on about how
Hmm.
you just design
Yeah,
your rooms, your
yeah.
3D, but so the backgrounds are complete, but it's still pencils, but you've already got the letters in. So do you go in and do your lettering early?
So what I do is part of that sort of, I don't know exactly what to call it. Let's call it penciling if you want to, or I just call it the rough version of the book, right?
Right,
Where, like, as you said, I built all the sets in CG so that I can really, people say my books, it's like reading a movie,
right,
and so I can get all my shots and scout around the sets and find the best angles that tell the story in the most immersive and compelling way, that I can. Then I add in the characters right in
right.
there. And then I I put in like temp balloons, right?
Okay.
With the dialogue. Because the thing is, there's every step of the way, there's an execution in the progression in the execution where you find more of the truth of the thing, right? So from the script, the written script, which when I'm doing it, I feel, oh, that's it, I cracked it, right? But it's just actually just a starting point. Then I start doing the
Right.
visual storytelling of it, and then once that's put together, then I realize that maybe something like a line is not exactly landing the way it should, and I just rewrite it. Or maybe a line has become completely unnecessary um, uh, uh, um, because the visuals carry it. Or sometimes it's the other way around, where it's just like, oh, it's one of those cases where you kind of need to hold people by the hand a little bit more, and then add a little bit more dialogue just to make sure that the points are not in an obvious way, but just to make sure, maybe it was a little bit too cryptic to begin with. So now it's decryptified, right? So, so process is script, then visual storytelling of those rough, that includes the CG background that I'm gonna redraw after anyway, but that I use to get the shots, adding the characters, and in that moment is where I'm really the most sort of dialed into the acting of the characters and the blocking of their scenes and how they work around the set and whatever. Then I do that rough dialogue pass on the page. And so that way I have this, as you've seen, because like in the copy you have, yes, there was still like a couple of pages that were still at that stage.
Right.
So I have the whole book like that. And then as I go back and ink the pages, I replace them as we go into the
Right.
thing, and also replace the lettering with the actual lettering, which gives me yet another bite at the apple to fine tune the dialogue if I need to. And then once the coloring gets done, and that replaces the black and white in that PDF, and
Right.
then there's the final bite at the apple with the dialogue.
Yeah. See, I mean, again, I've always been the work in progress geek, like when it's at the back of the book to see how it
Mhm.
went from, but like most of those are very clean where it's like, see, this is how it was at this step, and this is how it was at this step. And it's like, that like there was space in between those steps.
Yeah.
So it was I mean, this is where I tell people listening, go out and make your own podcast and you get to experience things like this. And otherwise, you get to listen to me talk about them until when and if like somebody hears me talking about them and goes, that's the experience we want to give somebody.
Mhm.
Um, but like it's just really cool to see exactly how things break down,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
what you just described is essentially what I worked backwards from looking at
right.
this. Oh, this must be how he
It's very hard to like, I mean, I grew up, without any particular access I didn't meet a professional artist until, I was, you know, either in college or, whatever, So when you're a kid and you're trying to learn, you see comics, you see stuff that you love, and you're like, oh my God, and you're seeing this finished product. And you have to kind of reverse engineer and crack the code of how they got there. And it's really, really hard to do. Sometimes it's impossible. I know for
Right.
me, I feel like I only learn from an artist when I look at their original drawings.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden I say, oh, that's how he did this. So that's why, anytime there's an exhibit, of original art anywhere, people, if
Right.
you're into this kind of stuff, you should go and see it because like the thing
This
was
is where I'll
amazing.
give my regular shout out to the Billy Ireland Cartoon Art Museum on the Ohio State campus. There's no larger publicly accessible collection of comic book art in the United States than at the Billy Ireland.
Yeah, that's incredible. And yeah, I really it's like for me, like when I worked at Disney, for instance, sometimes I've seen like drawings from the Nine Old Men, right? Which for people who don't follow animation, were like the Jack Kirby and stuff of animation of Disney back in the days, right? And see their actual. animation drawings, and I don't even mean because it's the same, right? Like animation drawings, there's like the rough drawing, which is really like where the
Mhm.
performance happens, and then it gets cleaned up. And then back in the days, not only that, but it was getting excuse me, inked, and all that stuff. So you're a few steps removed. So you get something that is slick and finished and is great for, public consumption. But for you as either an artist who wants to learn or somebody who's just has a keen interest in this type of things, just to reverse engineer from there is impossible. So sometimes somebody would go to the vault and come back with those drawings from like Lady and the Tramp, and you'd see the actual
Well, I was about to
drawing.
say one of the coolest things I've ever seen at the Billy Ireland, they have the alligator Captain Hook
Oh yeah.
scene with all of the acetates, all of the sketches. So like you can go through the whole process and the whole scene.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And in comics, it's the same. You look at somebody like Alex Toth, for instance, who at the end of the day, when you looked at the
Who
finished
you have to
page,
compete with on Kickstarter right now
I know, I think he's
because
winning.
his Zorro is up.
He's winning from beyond the grave, let me tell you.
If
But
you like Alex Toth's Zorro, you will also like Stephan Frank's Palomino. I promise.
well, I'm not gonna add to that, but no, but I'm a huge Toth fan, that's for sure.
Right.
And but what's interesting is that he like for me as like the stuff that got me into drawing, was my way into it. In other words, is the lines. I like
Yeah.
lines. I like clean lines or all sorts of lines, but it's the really the line. And Toth has this very clean line that, like Mobius, like those guys. And you learn from those books as a kid, and you're trying to lay down your lines in a way that lands like that. And when you finally get to see like his roughs, right? You see that he doesn't put in the lines until the very end. Like the way he reconstructs his drawing is with shapes and blocks. And so right, it's
Right.
extremely blocky. And I think if I'd seen, Toth's roughs as a kid, they would not have appealed to me because the drama of the line, would not
And
have.
or you would have learned much sooner that you didn't have to draw really slow the first time.
There you go. Yes, exactly. But so there you go. So it's yeah, the behind the scenes. That's what I in the silver books that I did. That's why I put in a lot of, and also that was my first long series in comics. And so I just wanted to share my journey a little bit with people,
Yeah.
and so that's why I put so many pages of actual content, behind the scenes stuff,
Right.
where
Right.
it was not
Yeah, and they're
just yeah.
fascinating. They're so fun to look through. Um, I'm certain that at some point, when we've got you to rock star status and they'll buy the Stephan Frank art book, then
Yeah,
we can just do, you're
yeah,
almost
exactly.
there, like
Yeah,
next
exactly. Like
year.
when I'm dead, in a few decades, and somebody puts out my hardcover, compendium on Kickstarter or whatever they have in that year, and then somebody can say to
I
somebody,
mean,
"You're competing with Stefan's, to the artist edition of Silver or whatever." Yeah,
actually, the other thing, and I remember, if I recall correctly, you were involved, um, at least minorly in this as well. As I looked through, the closest that I can think of that's like this experience in terms of seeing scenes at all stages, and here we are talking about stuff that nobody else gets to see, so bear with us, everybody. But that's also why I'm bringing this up is um the Into the Spider-Verse
mm,
DVD
mm,
was like the first cartoon I ever knew that came with a significant outtake
right,
section,
right.
like an hour's worth of outtake that they even for the most part went and did the voices on, but there were all sorts of different levels of completion of the art. From
Yeah,
from
yeah.
from really rough sketches to finished but not colored to flatted but not, and a couple of scenes that were actually done and still got cut. So like aside from the fact that there were some really cool scenes in that, um, it was a great way to look at, oh wow, look at all of these steps that go into animation because
Yeah, especially animation is I'm gonna say the big difference, the only real difference to me in the creative process between animation and live action is that in live action it's all about the once the cameras are rolling and people are on set and stuff like that, you can ask the actors or they can give you different takes. They can on the scene, they do it differently and stuff like that. I was just seeing like a making of something just a few days ago. I can't remember which actor, is too bad, but it was just giving the director like every take was nailing it and every
right,
take was different. I think it was Steven Spielberg talking about somebody else. An
right.
actor. I can't remember which actor, but it doesn't matter. But the point is, in animation, you can't do that because animation is much more of a linear process. So you don't
I
get.
mean, you could, but it'd either be really expensive or really frustrating or both.
I think it'd be the last animated movie they let you make is what it would be. Because the truth is, it just takes longer, and it's a slow motion process almost, So when you get to actually animating the scene, or to working with your animator, just like you'd be working with an actor, um, you need to have sort of workshopped the scene before and tried a few things and see what feels right. And so the way you do it is with those, storyboards. I hate to say storyboards because people think that storyboards is just like one drawing that kind of shows you the shot, what the shot is. But in animation, it's not like that. In animation, you read like boards in animation, especially in feature animation, is almost like pre-animation. It's just loose enough that you can do it really fast and put like the whole movie together in just a few weeks, but all the intentions are already in there, like in terms of acting, like the blocking of the scene, the emotion that you're hitting with the characters. And at that stage, because it's fast, you can try many different things. And this is where you workshop it so that when you get into, the booth with the actor, which also you're going to get your actor for like 2 hours, or 3 hours a day,
Right,
you're going to get them for 6 months, you know what I'm saying?
right.
Whether you get that or when you're actually getting the final animation done, then you've already sort of cracked the scene to a point where you're committed to a direction on it.
So, talk to me about how your animation work informs finding your comic angles, particularly because I mean the one way that you're, I don't want to say quite unique because I'm certain that there's somebody else out there that does it, but you 3D model most of your sets. So you have your CG model that you can find your angle. So I mean, so my first question is how much time do you spend modeling given sets
Not very
for,
long. No, it goes pretty fast because um, I'm not like a heavy duty CG person. Like I'm not, like I don't run Maya or anything like that, But I can find my way around the SketchUp Pro and get my ideas across very quickly. So I'm able to build a set, based on, elements that they have and stuff like that. And, because it's a software that is mostly used by architects and set designers. So there's a lot of elements you can in their library that is huge that you can find
yeah,
stuff and use as reference. And so in like 2, 3 hours at the most, I can build a really elaborate set. Uh, um, the one exception that I would say is that there's a particular set in volume 6 that you'll see soon, that is such where most half the book takes place in various aspects of that location, and it's really like a key location. So that one took like a couple of days to really build in and out. It was very complex, and like having the integrity of that space and the drama of that space in the book, it really is really powerful. But so it's only a couple of hours. Then it's and also because by the time when I'm writing the script in my mind, I already see kind of the space. So little by little, I have a very specific idea of what I want, and I know how to work fast. Like for instance, when I was doing What If, if on the some of the episodes I was directing, if there was a location that I knew kind of exactly in my mind what it was or how I wanted to. I would build in just a few hours a very quick version of it, also in SketchUp. That way, I could share it to my storyboard team with the art directions, the art team, the production designer, and stuff like that, and so they could um, make it better. But in terms of a functional stage, sometimes I feel like if you're going to direct sometimes you say, the answer is already included in the question, and I feel like a scene is very often included in how you design and build that set. And if you did it with story in mind, the set wants to tell the story and helps the characters or the actors or in this case, tell the story. But so it doesn't take that long, but then I do spend a lot of time looking for those shots that are the most effective, the less repetitive, but also that are the most connected and immersive in regards to like the experience of the story of who's from the reader's point of view, but also the character's headspace and so on and so forth. But to answer your question, actually CG is very in use in mainstream comics. A lot of people, and most people use it for locations, for vehicles,
Okay.
even for character poses, all those superheroic poses and stuff like that. Now people just block it out really quickly with CG, and then they do their magic over. Not everybody does it, but a lot of people do it. So that's
Yeah,
actually,
no, it
and
was,
I'm
it
not,
wasn't the idea
no, no,
that it
no, but
wasn't used. I think I don't see things where I'm as certain. I mean, your sets are very clearly built as 3D models so that you
yeah.
can look all over the place.
Yes,
And
yes,
I
yes.
I don't always see that. That was the part
Well,
that I was.
no, no, no. I appreciate it, and that was not a defensive thing for me either. It was,
No, no, I know.
but it was, um, to your point that um, part of it's one thing to build a set, but then if you have to shoot it, right?
Right.
And very often I think people spend a lot of time building the set and getting the assets in the right position or whatever, but then they shoot it with those very boring or overly objective camera angles because maybe they're not as versed into the film language of it, and so it kind of almost defeats the purpose of at the very least it's fighting the what the CG is trying to accomplish. Also the thing where CG is the thing that I'm very proud of in these books is that you look again, we're going back to that theme of trying to decode a finished image. It's very hard to, I think you look at the pages of Palomino and it's at no point do you go, oh, CG this or CG that. You
Oh no.
can't, it's completely because I redraw over it and stuff like that. So I think
Right.
sometimes also people just export the model, put it on the page, and that's nice and good, but it pulls you out in the way because it starts to have this kind of photo montage kind of feeling, that doesn't
Yeah, no,
work for everything.
and this is one of those places that because we're not visual, I should make certain that our listeners know that like when I talk about seeing the sets, they're not the same detailed or same colored that they are on the finished pages. What it is that he's got essentially a visual 3D flatted, you know, so that like the cool posters and the cool minutia and whatever are all always in the right spot for whatever angle,
Exactly.
it's like Neil deGrasse Tyson gets upset when movies don't get the stars right,
Right.
This like tells me that you have a brain that can sometimes read a comic and go, yeah, that poster's not in the same place in this frame as it was in that frame. How do I avoid that?
Yeah, like the key thing in story that they call it is suspension of disbelief, right? So
Right,
as an audience, whether a reader or somebody who goes to see a movie, watch a show, you go in with your disbelief fully and willfully suspended. You want to
right,
believe that the stuff is true and enjoy it and stuff like that. And then I think your job as an artist is not to break that illusion. And so in certain cases, it will mean just maintaining the complexity and the consistency of the world, and especially if you're doing a scene that's an interior scene where like who is where and what is important from a plot standpoint, then you want that location to be solid so you can really like
right,
tell your story through it. Or even if it's an intimate sort of moment that takes place around the kitchen table, and at some point it's a dramatic scene. People will get up, go to the sink, do the dishes, whatever, as they're talking, as a way to deflect something that's being said or whatever. Like the way people will interact with the set, that's the scene, right? I mean, that's the,
right,
the drama, that's the theater of that thing. And
right.
so if you and you so you need like this kind of the solidity of that world to exist for the characters to bump into.
So crazy question again, because I love all the minutia that you fit into your sets and whatnot. Have you ever had a time where you added something that you were particularly proud of or whatnot to a set, and then some X number of pages later realized that it never made it into the comic?
Yes, 100%. There's like I've again, because I kind of already sort of see the scene in my head as I'm writing it. I don't always build the four walls of the set. You know what I mean? It's not
Right.
but I've been known to have a little bit too much fun with the building the set sometimes and not using so,
And
you
then,
know.
then suddenly it's like, wait a minute,
Yeah, why am
that
I doing
baseball
this?
card that was on the table hasn't shown up.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But as they say, you have to kill your darlings. And the thing that I've learned a long time ago is to not be precious. It
Yeah,
doesn't any idea you have, any sort of doesn't matter. If it's not right for the story, not right for the moment,
right.
then just save it for the next one.
Yeah, I didn't figure. I mean, we've talked enough at this point. I didn't figure it was going to be something that would be like bothersome to you. I
Mm,
know, and I'm also I'm proud of you for not having to build all four walls. I would have to. I wouldn't,
right,
and I know that I'm not alone in that because when we did our Milk Caniff um book club for our comic strip book club,
right.
we noticed that um, in the Dennis Kitchen edition reprints, um, the particularly on some of the bigger set pieces on like Sunday Steve Canyons or whatnot,
Yeah.
there would be stuff outside the lines
Yeah, yeah,
and like detailed ink stuff outside the lines.
yeah.
And as it turns out, yes, the Dennis Kitchen reprints were the first places that those were printed, but he had always done that because he was not capable of stopping. Like if he had the whole picture in his head,
Right, right.
he couldn't stop at the edge of the panel just because he knew that that was all was going to be printed in the newspaper. He had to finish it. So,
Yeah, and I think it comes from many angles, right? Like one angle
right.
is like he's into it and he's just got to continue this drawing. He's got to finish this drawing. No one will see. It doesn't
Probably a
matter.
little OCD, a
So there's a
little
bit of that.
neurodiverse.
right. But the other thing is when you learn to draw professionally, the first thing that they do, and especially it's true for your perspective, your
Right.
backgrounds, but it's
Hmm.
also true for your characters, is to draw outside the like don't because otherwise your characters always feel like
They're
they
stuck inside.
they're
Hmm.
stuck inside, but also like even they will not look right because
Right.
the arm will feel like it's articulating in the wrong place, or that the hand, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna
Right.
if the hands moving, you need to feel that elbow, in the right place, although it's out of either out of the panel or below the
Right.
screen,
No,
right?
no, absolutely. It's just
And
both Bob Sikoriak and Carl Krumholtz, who are both fantastic cartoonists in their own right, are in that book club with us, and they were just awestruck at the idea that he inked it. They're like, of course he's got pencils that go outside the lines, but this is inked and
I
cleaned
saying it
up.
was too good not to ink,
He finished them.
That's so funny. That's so funny. The thing honestly, that goes with writing too. And that's something I've come to think about recently is that for a while I was feeling that somehow movies were feeling smaller now than they used to me. And what I mean by that is adjusted for inflation. And what I mean by that is that yes, I know that things look bigger when you're 10 than they do when you're much older. See, I didn't date myself there. But the point is, but it's still like all like accounting for all that. Why is it that when I was watching certain older movies, the world felt bigger and now it doesn't, and I feel like it's because sometimes just like in drawing or visually you don't want to end the world at the border of the panel. In the story is the same. You don't want to end. Can you imagine in Blade Runner when Rutger Hauer is talking about the attack ships on fire on the shoulders of Orion? If they had cut to that, horrible, right? Like
Right.
you just want stuff to exist outside of the confounds of the story, outside of the understanding and even knowledge of the character. You know what I'm saying? So just it's building the world is what really builds the world is all the 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 unexplained, unshown stuff, whether it's in writing, in story, in art, in all the elements that make storytelling, that exist outside the frame, but that literally or metaphorically cast a shadow inside the frame.
Well, I think it's just another way of putting that, because I've been thinking about that too, because I've been watching a few more movies because we have my family does a weekly Zoom movie club, where we all watch the same movie and then we get together and talk about it. And I'm starting to notice definite lines in terms of who likes what kind of movies.
Mm,
Um, and like I like being expected to be the final collaborator. I like being expected to make guesses and assumptions about characters'
right.
pasts or whatnot. And other people are like, well, if that's true, why don't they tell us that? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, because like so what I'm hearing and what I think is like, and it's really funny that and I agree with you. I feel like the movies feel smaller even though they're so much longer.
Right.
But it's like all streamlined action. There's not more and more the longer it is, it's because they gave time and money to a longer action sequence, not because they gave a conversation time to breathe or a scene time to sit rather than move
Right.
along.
Right.
Um,
Because to be clear, I love long movies. I always love long movies. There's nothing
I
more
do
than I
too.
like, like exactly, right? You can sit for like 3 hours, 3.5 hours in front of something, right? So, but I think
When I mean, but like I like more of the old long movies than the new long movies.
Mm,
I feel like in terms of 3 hours being a good thing, like the Lord of the Rings movies are my demarcation line. That they're the
mm.
last batch where 3 hours was consistently pretty good. It meant that they were filling the time. It meant that they had a story to tell and characters to develop rather than, oh, we can get away with 3 movies or 3 hours now, so we're not cutting any of this action.
Right. Well, I'm not gonna go and criticize other people's work, so I'm not gonna
No,
jump.
I don't, I'm not,
And I know,
because
but
there's
but
a place for those.
I
I'm
will
not
say
saying they're
this.
bad. They're just,
But to here's what I'll say. To me, I think the test for a movie, how big is it, is it's not how I feel when I leave the theater. It's how I feel 3 weeks later. Is it still
mhm,
with me, or did I forgot it? You know?
right.
And what I feel is that if the story, looking back and sort of trying to like decode again from a thing down from like like a feeling as an audience, decoding that to how it was done and how it works and stuff like that, I feel like if the world of the story existed and projected its shadow and its influence was felt beyond the confines of the frame, visually, story-wise, in every possible way, then the movie will feel huge and real and stay with you.
Well,
If
and
every
this is true of all stories, not just
yeah,
movies,
exactly, all
comics,
stories,
novels.
exactly,
The more they sit in the back of your head, the more you want to go back to them.
right. And I
Um,
think that's what's funny is like those principles I think apply to every level of the performance, whether it's the writing, the drawing, the acting choices, it's just like those are like just a contrast. Contrast is like a just your essential principle of composition. And again, doesn't matter if it applies to a sentence, a paragraph, a script, a drawing, a finished painting, a movie, contrast always applies. And I
I
think the
yeah,
existence of yeah.
I can't remember if I asked this specific question before. So if I did, and anybody remembers from previous times Stefan's been on, well, my apologies that you get to listen to it again. But like
Mhm.
you work two completely opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of like when you're show running what if there is a massive number of different people doing different parts and you're overseeing everything and making certain that things get lined up and whatnot. And then Palomino or Love in the Time of the Space God are just you. Talk to me
Uh,
about like the dichotomy of how massively different those experiences are. Because
so yeah,
it's weird for one person to be good at both.
well,
Half the
thank you.
time you talk to a cartoonist that does their own color, their own letter, and whatnot, they're blown away at the people at Marvel that can work as part of a team. Whereas likewise, a lot of the people at Marvel are like, no, I like to do the part that I like. And I'm glad that I don't have to write it or I don't have to, you know.
So
So you
yeah,
live in
sorry.
like both worlds.
I do. So, well, first, I just need to be that guy and correct something just for this, that because you used a specific term of show running, and I was not the showrunner of What If, right?
Sorry.
So, but I was one of the two directors, and I so directed a bunch of episodes. So just so that no people,
No,
nobody gets
that's
the
fair.
wrong
That's fair.
upset
I
at
gave
me.
you a promotion. Maybe next season.
Yeah, next season we'll see. So no, so but you're right. Yes, you're absolutely right. So, um, directing is, yes, you are projecting your vision, and leading the team, but it's a team, and it's really about creating a space that I would say is creatively and humanly safe for people. At least, I mean, maybe other people approach it differently, but for me, because I think like when you're, it's all about creating a performance. And when you're asked to create a performance, when an artist is asked to create a performance, the fear is always to be led into a false performance or something bad that will make you look bad in the end, right? So so it's really about creating a space that feels safe, where people can you know that you have your back, a, because you know what you're doing and you have your instinct working for you, so you're not most likely lead them in the wrong, in the ditch, but also just in your relationship with them, in the way that they can feel that they can try stuff and just put themselves on the line, with like crazy ideas, or like, hey, trying to push the envelope, and knowing that it's a safe environment creatively. So uh, um, the the directing to me is like almost the least ego driven thing I can think of, because you are your team. You can't do anything without them. And just like your goal is to just bring that team forward and just help them through some sort of finish line and get something out of them that they themselves maybe didn't know that they were going to be able to do at the beginning, but everybody, gets to the other side and no one's left behind and everybody's happy, and we went for something and we went there, so that's one sort of human experience, which is completely different from doing the books, which is I'm doing alone. Like the only I mean, there's a few people helping me, for instance. For my wife, does the flat coloring of the books, which is a huge amount of work that I would not have the time to do at all. So she does an amazing job at it, and she's because when Palomino's done, it's 650 pages, right? So she's done all that. Um, I have an editor that I've been working with since Silver, who just helps me, just you know, proofreading and just adjusting certain things here and there and stuff like that, so it's not that I'm completely alone, but 99.999% of the time I am alone, and I don't have anyone that I need to ask for permission to do anything, or to convince them that something's worth chasing before I chase it. So, and I do need those two experiences in my life. Otherwise, I would feel constricted in if I just
Okay.
did one of them and not the other.
How about from a strict nuts and bolts organizational standpoint? Like,
Mm.
because when you're directing, I imagine that like, and this is just me, I'd have the spreadsheet going that told me everything that needed to be done, who was working on what, soft deadlines, hard deadlines, a lot of it would be just keeping track of um where things were at. There might be as much as half an hour every morning, just like checking in on where things were at, updating things, half an hour at the end of the day, going, yep, we got everything. Whereas,
Well, on a production like, any production like that, there's a team of production people who are extremely good at keeping track of that stuff and keeping your
oh, so
day
you have a team
organized
of
and stuff
people
like.
to do that for you.
Yeah, yeah.
See, I
It's
hadn't
just
even
it's
thought
just
of
like
that.
I get like, my block schedule, that is solid, one meeting after the other, like all through the day. You know what I mean? With this artist, that artist, this department, that department,
Right.
whatever, and and I just go where I'm told to go, and and people know exactly where we are, what needs to be accomplished, and where, so I that's no bearing on you at all. However,
Okay.
you need to have the entire, like, the whole thing lives in your head, so that during the day you will be asked a million questions that you don't have the time to go like, all right, let me think about that. I mean, once in a while, you need to do that, especially if it's a meeting more like a writing meeting where, like, it's again, nothing is, pre-decided, and you're, so it's more of an organic process. But let's say I'm going to an art meeting, and like a production design meeting, and it's just like, all right, here's the casino that Howard the Duck runs. Okay, for the banister, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. You have to go this one. For the car, this one, this one, this one. None of them, because this says this and it needs to say that. Okay, so next, what about this, right? And so it's you need to be living the thing needs to be living in your head in such a way that you have the intuitive answer to all of it or most of it, and be correct at least a good amount of the time.
I'm suddenly realizing why have you read probably not Tom Hanks novel, the making of the next motion picture masterpiece, I think. I'm looking up the title right now. Um, the making of another motion picture masterpiece, major motion picture masterpiece, which I read largely because my friend Bob Sikoriak got to do 3 comics for it.
Oh wow.
Um,
Yeah.
because like part of the premise is that they were making it based on this like old comic book thing. But like the main characters, I don't even know like what roles you would describe them as. They're like the director's assistant and the director's
Mhm.
assistant's assistant.
Mhm.
Like the director's assistant might be a producer role. Or actually, no, here we go. The producer and the gopher production assistant are
Mhm.
probably the two like most driving forces of the entire book. And
Right.
like while you when you were describing and the reason is because they're like the ones that keep the trains running. That the writer director is brilliant and visionary and whatnot, and they've got a great actress and all sorts of great stuff. But like if they'd had to like make certain coffee was in the right place or that permits were in place or whatnot, nothing
Mhm.
would ever get done.
Right. Right.
And that was like something that I appreciated the most about the book to begin with. Um,
Yeah, people don't, like when you go from, the more the stuff you do is in contact with physical reality of the world, right?
right,
The more complex by orders of magnitudes everything becomes, because now
right.
everything's a real thing that has a real life footprint and ramifications and everything as to. So animation, we don't have that much. It's not as a logistical,
But you still had
but you
have the
still
guy
have.
that gives you the schedule of where you need to be, rather than that being part of your job as the
Oh,
director.
yeah, yeah, you
That's what
couldn't.
that's
Yeah.
what I meant. Is like
Oh,
in my head, it's like, oh,
oh, yeah. You
when you
you
said that, I
just.
went, oh, of course they would go. This kind of logistics and
Yes.
good visionary directing aren't actually the
Mm-hmm.
same skill set.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that we could hire to do this kind of logistics.
Oh, 100%. And people who are amazing at it,
Right,
and also and the people who are good at it, not only are good logistically at solving problems, making things happen,
right.
but they're also incredible people's people,
Hmm.
because they can, when anybody gets flustered, they get to, calm them down, or, if there's, to get any like very complex effort like that happen, you need goodwill all everywhere. You need
Oh yeah,
goodwill from the person who says, sure, you can put this thing in my driveway. It's about goodwill. And
right,
so some people are very good at generating goodwill from other people, and some people are more just like prickly and just like or get a no immediately. So in those sort of production support role, you need people who are amazing problem solvers at the same time that they are people's people, and that they
right,
can manage you when you are getting flustered, and they can manage other people if you piss them off, and they can
right,
get a lot of goodwill all around, to just
right.
grease the wheels of the project.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's just how my brain works. You said that, and I immediately went, where have I? Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I've recommended it a few times. Like I said, I read this book because my friend Bob did the comics,
Mm.
but I wound up loving the book. Tom Hanks is a surprisingly good writer and or has somebody to help him do the writing parts good and is good at storytelling. Who knows? One of the two. But I was really impressed, and it sounds like this is the way it works on animation as well, at like how he brought out some of the unsung heroes that are just like good at going, okay, here's your schedule for the day. I know you're my boss, but I put your schedule for the
But I run your
day.
life.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You write my checks, I run your life.
Yeah. I don't write
Um,
the checks either, but
well, no.
that's somebody else. Yeah, but no, no, but you're absolutely right.
So, so I know that your throat is not at its best, so, and we're running up on an hour. So I got to ask the required closing questions, and
mm,
we'll see if it's been long enough that you gave me new answers.
oh,
Um, Tell me something you love, preferably comics,
mm,
but we don't really have rules. Preferably storytelling, but we don't really have rules. And for that matter, you always give me at least some music too. So for you, I kind of want storytelling and music.
oh
Something
boy.
you love that not enough other people are hip to yet, and you need them to be so that you can talk to them about it.
Okay. Um, hmm. That's a good. Oof. Okay. What did I say last time? Um,
Front of me, I can tell you if
okay.
you
No, no. Yeah,
want.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you something that's really amazing. You know how independent comics. It's not easy, and it's what I love is when people who do the corporate work also do independent comics, so they're bringing a high level of execution and creativity in the service of something that is completely independent. And there's somebody I'm gonna name drop in 2 seconds, because we're friends and because he also has a Kickstarter running right now, and because we're gonna do a bunch of stuff together, is Joe Benitez, right? Benitez. I'm not exactly sure how I should pronounce his last name because I always just call him
The
Joe.
Lady Mechanica
Maybe
Kickstarter.
Mechanica. And so his Kickstarter is doing fantastic. It's amazing. Our common friend, Madeline Holy Rosing, wrote a story in there, and it's amazing stuff. It's amazing stuff. So anybody who likes kind of steampunk,
Hey, I might have to
mystery, adventure,
pay
stuff
for
like that.
that one. I've been plugging it, but I haven't
Hmm.
actually taken the plunge yet because
Do it.
I'm a teacher, Stefan.
Do it. I know.
There's
I
only
know.
so much money in the bank account.
I know the price of everything just multiplied by three at Costco. I know, it's true, and that's but that's something I just wanted to highlight because it's
Oh,
happening
absolutely.
right
I like
now,
it.
and it's fantastic, and it's a friend, of course. He probably doesn't need my help anyway, but
Yeah, no, I
uh,
need
um,
to actually, he's been on my radar for a while
mm,
because and I realize this because he does stuff on Kickstarter and not enough of the Wednesday Warriors figured that out because he
mm,
so often rules Free Comic Book Day. And
yeah,
then people get, at least comic store people, get frustrated because they don't know when his next book's coming out, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I want more of this. Why haven't you gotten more of this? And it's a mixture of either because he's self-published, the comic shop missed it because it wasn't in the big parts of Diamond that they were looking and they weren't paying attention to their people who were asking for it. And the fact that like the best way to do it was go, read your free comic book day book and then go to Kickstarter when he
that's right, that's right.
I mean, it's clearly overall working for him because I was looking through his Kickstarter history. He does, but like there's a small group of fandom that I was around a lot when I worked in a comic shop that have read like lots of single issues of Lady Mechanica and want
Mm.
way, way more.
Yes, Yes. So there you go. So he's got a whole new book coming out. It's just great.
Yeah,
And as far as music, what's music? I don't know. Um, I'll take a rain check on this. My,
that's
my
fair.
my brain
You
is
gave me
still
four
frying
last time.
from like this insane. Oh, I
Yeah,
did. So
yeah,
there you
you
go.
gave me
So,
four last time. We got Chris Gaffney, the Hacienda
oh
brothers,
yeah.
Peter
Oh,
Cooper, and
good.
Lloyd Green last time,
Oh, that's
along
great.
with Batman First Night, Catwoman by Darwin Cook and Ed Brubaker,
Mm.
and Hugo Pratt's Corto Maltese. So, like, you've given us plenty this year
Plenty.
already, because
Okay,
that
I'll
was
give
in
you
like
one. I'll give you one.
January.
And but here's the thing. It'll be impossible to find. So, but I'll tell you anyway. It's funny, like at the over the weekend, I was at the Ontario, California Comic Con Revolution show, and
Right.
we taped an episode of the Superfan podcast, another podcast
Yeah,
that.
no, they've been so good at sending me
Hmm.
podcast guests, and
Hmm.
now they're doing their own podcast.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
I
it's
just
pretty
hope
fun.
that they keep sending me
Oh, they
podcast guests.
will. They 100% will. But and their podcast is really kind of unique in the way that it's comic book people talking about stuff
Right.
they're into outside of comic books.
Yeah.
And so I did, so it was myself and Ray Anthony High. So I was talking about subject that has fascinated me, frustrated me, and that I'm very ambivalent towards, but yet I'm obsessed with it since I'm a kid. I was a kid, which is UFOs. And so the book that got me on that path is a French graphic novel from the early 70s called something that would translate as The File of the Flying Saucers. And not only is it amazingly drawn, right? Like it's that style of I don't know if people know the French cartoonist Paul Gillon, but he's like he's the French Alex Raymond, right? Who did from except I think he worked longer, lived I mean he lived longer, worked until the far into the 80s, 90s, but started in comic strips that are have nothing like like the Alex Raymond, like just the best. So anyway, so he's this kind of classic top level art. So it's not him drawing that. It's this other artist called Gigi. Gigi. All those crazy French names. They love. No one, no people may not know that, but like the thing in French comics is people go with those crazy, nicknames or whatever. And Gigi,
Is this
DJ, Jajet, Juju,
is
Jaja,
is this
And
how are
so
we spelling this, Gigi?
a GI.
Okay.
And I think he also didn't live super old, so his body of work also, but he's just an amazing artist. So this is just to say, it's he kind of it's a
Robert
collection.
Gigi,
Robert Gigi.
the
Um,
Flying Saucers file.
oh my God, this is
So
an
I'm looking at least a
incredible
page of
book.
it on Tumblr right now,
Hmm.
and it looks very cool.
Oh, it's like, if you want to feel like, it's Close Encounters, and you're in the 70s and you're kind of for the first time hearing about like Project Blue Book and Kenneth Arnold
But
and this and
Project Blue
that.
Book is very good. I'm a fan of Project Blue Book.
So it's just an amazing book that I found when I was like if somebody showed me, like a cool kid at school showed me when I was 8 years old, and that I've never kind of come off of that obsession since then.
Well, it looks like you read French.
Me,
I mean, do you have a copy?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Because I
do.
was
I
about to
do.
say, I just found it on eBay Australia,
Oh,
and we
nice.
have a regular 22 panels contributor in Australia. So if you didn't have a copy, I
Oh,
was gonna.
no, no, thank you so much. Yeah, I do. I still have the copy that I had when I was a kid.
Okay.
I still have it, and I still have all my, well, people, but just behind, me, people can see all those big format, like French graphic
Right.
novels that I brought with me when I came over to America. But so yeah, there's three books in that collection. The first one's the best in my opinion, but they're all good. Oh my God, if you love comics and if you want to see, if you're into like kind of that UFO kind of, but again, not UFO, just a very 70s Close Encounter kind of vibe,
Right.
and with art that you could think Alex Raymond drew it.
Oh yeah. No,
And
this is yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at the pages on the eBay listing, but yeah,
there you
it
go,
looks fun.
more obscure stuff, cool obscure stuff for your
Well,
listeners.
I'm talking to a French translator soon. They'll be,
It's weird, yeah.
hey, you gotta convince them to pull this out wherever. I mean, the publisher's still
That,
around. It's a dark art.
oh, Dargo, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's part
Dargo.
of,
So
by the way, he's part of the same group as Abrams, who publishes Silver.
right.
But because yeah, I gotta talk to. I have a few friends who publish, French licenses here in the U.S. And I don't know. I should tell them, hey, check this out. This is just too cool.
I mean, there's been more and more demand for translated content.
Hmm.
But beyond that, with the number of places that you can sell or make available via um, subscription
Yeah.
digital versions. I mean, like Europe Comics has been doing a lot where they translate it and they put it up on Hoopla for library use and Amazon for
Mm.
purchase. And if it sells and or is checked out enough times, then they know, oh, there's an audience for this.
Yeah. Let's print a
Let's
book.
print a run.
Yeah. That's good.
I think that's an interesting model for translating existing work is, try to make the translation money back through digital licensing. And
Yeah. Yeah.
then if you do, you've got some data on how many people are interested to know whether it's worth doing a US print run, but you've already done the translation.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know. So Stefan, it is always a blast.
It's my
Uh
pleasure. It's really
yeah,
fun
let me
every
take us
time.
out and then I'll talk to you for a couple of seconds and let
Okay.
you go. For Stephan Frank, this has been 22 Panels, the Dark Planet Comics 2220 or 2025 graphic novels, romance in the age of the space god, which we talked about extensively the last time we talked, and Palomino volumes 4 and 5 are on Kickstarter now. It is now fully funded as of, I think, sometime earlier today or yesterday, because the last time I checked, it wasn't quite there.
It was right before the weekend, but I didn't want to bother too much.
Okay.
Like, let's have everybody have their weekend in
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah. So, yeah, now fully funded. So you're now ordering rather than just saying that you are hoping to order. Um, Amazing, amazing, amazing work. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Stefan. And we will see everybody after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panels podcast.